Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya karo more. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya karo more. Toma bina ke dayalu jagat samsare. Toma bina ke dayalu jagat samsare. Patita pavana hetu tava avatara. Patita pavana hetu tava avatara. Mosama patita prabhu na paibe ara. Mosama patita prabhu na paibe ara. Ha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi. Ha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi. Kripa bale kana koro ami bhada dhokhi. Daya koro sitapati Advaita Goshai. Daya koro sitapati Advaita Goshai. Tava kripa bale pai Chaitanya Nitai. Tava kripa bale pai Chaitanya Nitai. Ha ha Swarup Sanatana Rupa Raghunatha. Ha ha Swarup Sanatana Rupa Raghunatha. Bhata Juga Shri Jiva Prabhu Lokanatha. Daya Karo Shri Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa. Ramachandra Shangamage Narottamdasa. Ramachandra Shangamage Narottamdasa. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More. Toma vina ke dayalu jagat samsare. Patita pavana hetu tava avatara. Mosama patita prabhu na paibe yara. Jaya Gaura Hari, Gaura Hari, Gaura Hari, Jaya Gaura Hari. Jaya Nitai Gaura Hari, Nitai Gaura Hari, Gaura Hari. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribrajacharya Astottara Sata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki. Shri Giriraj Govardhan Lal Ki. Shri Gaur Purnima Mahamahotsava Ki. Shri Jagannath Misra Mahotsav Ki. Shri Jagannath Rath Yatra Mahotsava ki Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shtapitam Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So this morning we will continue with the discussions about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Gopurnima, that we celebrated very beautifully for most of the day, ending in a very wonderful presentation last night by His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj, where Maharaj discussed the various intimate and external reasons for the Lord's appearance in this age of Kali. What was also quite striking yesterday was Maharaj describing the rarity of our good fortune to take birth in this age of Kali, on this planet Earth. Just 500 and, what was the calculation, 38 years ago. Very short time after Lord Chaitanya had appeared. And that too, blessed very close to the manifested pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's most empowered representative, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So, just to put into perspective our great fortune, the rarity of such a great fortune, that Krishna appears once in 8 billion or so years, and Lord Chaitanya also appears once in all those years. So for us to be appearing, taking birth in and around the same sort of time scale, time frame, it's unimaginable what our good fortune is. So therefore, to learn about the glories, the pastimes, and the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is essential to reciprocate with whatever arrangement was there that had us taking birth at such a time. Of course, the Bhagavatam is very clear about defining who an intelligent person is. What does the Bhagavatam say? How does the Bhagavatam describe the activities of an intelligent person? Anybody remember? In relation to Lord Chaitanya. Krishna Varnam, Tvisha Krishnam, Sangopangashta, Parshadam, Yajnai, Sankirtan Prayar, Yajanti, He Su Medasa. Medasa means they have some brain substance, a lot of brain, but Su Medasa is they are very intelligent. And what do the very intelligent persons do? They worship that manifestation of God, Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, who performed Sankirtan, who came along with all his associates and his weapons. What is Lord Chaitanya's weapon that he came down with? His beauty. Not the club, not the disc, not his sarang bow or his, things like that. He came with his beauty, which was so disarming. He could drop dead anyone, so to speak. They talk about drop dead beauty, right, in this world. I haven't seen anyone in this world that could. Anyway, maybe Radharani, Lord Chaitanya and Radhanath. But my heart is, at least, is so stone coldly covered that when I look at the deities, I don't drop dead. But I guess by seeing Lord Chaitanya in 500 years ago, that could have... It did happen in a sense that to many, many people who saw Lord Chaitanya, they dropped dead. Their material lives were over, completely over. And immediately they attained to love of Krishna, Krishna Prem. So that was one of Lord Chaitanya's, incidentally as an aside, one of Lord Chaitanya's ways of outreach, just to show himself out there, for people to see him and for him to look upon people. Of course, nowadays there are also some pretenders currently in the world that also try to do the same thing, but boy, they are nowhere near as beautiful as Lord Chaitanya is. So anyway, we're continuing the discussion about Lord Chaitanya. This is the most intelligent thing to do today, or any day for that matter, but especially today, being the day after Lord Chaitanya appeared. Just as when Krishna appeared 5,000 odd years ago, Mother Yashoda, he appeared at around midnight, so there wasn't a huge celebration around that time. There wasn't a big feast like how we do in Hare Krishna temples. We have these drop-dead feasts, because after those feasts, you almost drop dead. Right? So everyone was tired. No one really even knew that Krishna had been born until Mother Yashoda got up after a while. So she was, tired. So it was only much later, many hours later, when everybody realized that, oh, Krishna has appeared, Mother Yashoda has given birth. Then they celebrated a huge festival called Nanda Utsav. Nanda Utsav means the festival Utsav of Nanda Maharaj. And Nanda Maharaj was giving profuse charity, huge amounts of wealth in charity, cows and ornaments and so many things to all the brahmanas and family and friends. That's the way he celebrated the birth of his child. So similarly, although Jagannath Misra was a very poor Brahmin, he also had a wonderful festival to celebrate the birth of his child Nimai. So we're going to read about those pastimes. There'll be much reading in this presentation today, but try your best to pay attention. It's very beautiful, very glorious, very inspiring, and very instructive as well. So, where will we read from? Yes. From Chaitanya Charitamrita, we'll read a few verses glorifying the scenario, describing the scenario around Lord Chaitanya's appearance from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 13. We'll read a few verses from there, and then we'll also read further other verses from chapter 13 that very detailedly describe what happened after Lord Chaitanya's appearance. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So reading from chapter 13 of the Adi Lila, starting with text 98. Nadia Udaya Giri Purna Chandra Gaura Hari Kripakari Haila Uday Papatama Haila Nashatri Jagatera Ulas Jagabhari Hari Dvani Hai. Thus by his causeless mercy the full moon Gaura Hari rose in the district of Nadia, which is compared to Udaya Giri, where the sun first becomes visible. By the way, did anyone see Purnima last night? So beautiful. It was a little cloudy, but so beautiful. I hope you all saw it, because anyway, it's a very special full moon. There's two very special full moons. There's many, but two especially special ones in our calendar, and that is Gopurnima and, anybody knows? First night of Kartik, Sharad, Purnima. If one glances at the moon, sees that moon, great blessings. So remember, if you missed last night's one, you can catch next year's one. But especially come first night of Kartik, remember, Sharad Purnima, when the most amazing, the topmost of all of Krishna's pastimes took place. Krishna danced with the gopis at Vamsi Vatin, Sevakunjan Vrindavan. His rising in the sky dissipated the darkness of sinful life, and thus the three worlds became joyful and chanted the holy name of the Lord. So at that time we know Lord Chaitanya appeared on a lunar eclipse, which is said to be very auspicious. So everyone came to different holy places and especially went into various holy bodies of water, in this case the Ganga here in Navadvip. They all immersed themselves. Even not just Hindus, but everyone, it's described, was going into the Ganga and chanting holy names. Whether they were chanting Krishna's name, Ram's name, Narayan's name, Allah's name. The Muslims were even doing the same thing, it's described, all chanting the names. So even Lord Chaitanya, by his birth, it gave an indication of what's going to be happening by his appearance, that everyone would be chanting the holy names of Krishna. And we hear also in Chaitanya Bhagavat that sometimes Lord Chaitanya would burst into a fit of crying and no one would know how to pacify him. And eventually by chance, or maybe not chance, but some internal inspiration, they realized, despite trying everything, nothing would work, but they realized that if we chant Krishna's name, then the baby would be pacified. So that's what would happen. So Lord Chaitanya sometimes would start crying, and then after a while the ladies would come and pacify him by chanting Hare Krishna. They didn't give these dummies and this and that. No. Chanting Hare Krishna, the baby would be pacified. And sometimes it's described, they would even pinch him just to try it out, make him cry, and then they would chant and he would stop crying. There was a video of one little devotee baby that was going around some years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. Similar thing. The father would be chanting Hare Krishna, chanting japa, and as soon as the father stopped chanting japa, the child would start crying. And the father had to start chanting again, and this happened like in the video for about 2 minutes. You can't really, fake it in 2-minute video. Anyway, we happen to know this little child. He lives in Bombay, the son of Hari Parashad Prabhu. Very wonderful speaker on Bhagavatam, on all scriptures. Do yourself a favor, YouTube search him and listen to his classes. Some of the most brilliant classes. He didn't ask me to make this advert for him, by the way. But he's a wonderful speaker, so please listen to him. Why is my... Sekale nijalaya uttiya advaita rai nritya kare anandita mana Haridasalana sange hunkara kirtana range kene nache keha nahi jane. At that time, Sri Advaita Acharya Prabhu, in his own house at Shantipur, was dancing in a pleasing mood. Taking Haridas Thakur with him, he danced and loudly chanted Hare Krishna. But why were they dancing? No one could understand. Why were they dancing? Anybody knows? Because Lord Chaitanya appeared after so long of Advaita Acharya petitioning. When you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll hear the description of Advaita Acharya calling out to Krishna. He realized that people are so degraded in this age of Kali. Even right there in India, in Navadvip, which was the center, the seat of learning in India, for a long time, people were so degraded, being influenced by the very damaging, destructive philosophy of Mayavad. And he thought to himself, just see, who else but Krishna directly can save all these people? He felt that not even just an incarnation could come. Because who's an incarnation? He himself is an incarnation, Advaita Acharya. But he thought this is even beyond me. So he realized that Krishna himself, Swayam Bhagavan, had to come. So he was petitioning Krishna through this Narayan form, the Shalagram Shila, offering Ganga water and Tulsi leaves and crying out to Krishna. And it's described that when Advaita Acharya was crying out, so loudly was he roaring that Krishna in the spiritual world was disturbed by his crying, that he had to answer the call of Advaita Acharya to come down. So now we will continue reading with the chapter summary of chapter 13. A learned Brahmana named Upendra Misra, who resided in the district of Srihatta, was the father of Jagannath Misra, who came to Navadvip to study under the direction of Nilambara Chakravarti, and then settled there after marrying Nilambara Chakravarti's daughter, Sachi Devi. Sri Sachi Devi gave birth to 8 children, all daughters, who died one after another immediately after birth. So can you imagine that? Having 8 daughters die, one after the other, shortly after birth. After her 9th pregnancy, she gave birth to a son who was named, anybody remember? After the 9th child was, the eldest, elder to Nimai was Vishwarup. Said to be an incarnation of Balaram. Not said, is an incarnation of Balaram. Then in 1407, Shaka era, corresponding to the Christian calendar, 1486, on the full moon evening of the month of Falgun, during the constellation of Singha, Leo, on the horizon. That's nice to know. Lord Chaitanya's birth star is Leo. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared as the son of Sri Sachi Devi and Jagannath Misra. After hearing of the birth of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, learned scholars and Brahmins, bringing many gifts, came to see the newly born baby. Nilambara Chakravarti, who was a great astrologer, immediately prepared a horoscope. And by astrological calculation, he saw that the child was a great personality. This chapter describes the symptoms of this great personality. So there is some similarity, right? Some resemblance between the pastimes of Krishna's appearance and that of Mahaprabhu's appearance. Mother Devaki, of course, we know she lost how many sons at birth before Balaram appeared in her womb? 6 sons. And then, seemingly like a miscarriage, the baby from her womb was then transferred to the womb of Rohini Devi. And then eventually Krishna took birth, manifested in her. So we find similar. Mother Sachi lost 8 daughters at first, like that. And she gave birth eventually to Vishwarup, the incarnation of Lord Balaram, who later on, at a very young age, left home and took sannyas. He was hardly even a teenager when he took sannyas, very, very young. And he took sannyas on the day that we call Vishwarup Mahotsava. You know who else took sannyas on Vishwarup Mahotsava? Very, very important person. You don't know. Srila Prabhupada took birth on Vishwarup Mahotsava. Yeah, very important day to celebrate. So anyway, it was a very wonderful, huge occasion for celebration that Sachi Devi had given birth. And everyone was coming, including the great personalities like Advaita Acharya, his wife Sita Thakurani, Srivas and his wife Malini, all came with lots of gifts and offered profuse blessings to Lord Chaitanya. Text 100. Seeing the lunar eclipse and laughing, both Advaita Acharya and Haridas Thakur immediately went to the bank of the Ganges and bathed in the Ganges in great jubilation. Taking advantage of the occasion of the lunar eclipse, Advaita Acharya, by his own mental strength, distributed various types of charity to the Brahmins. How did he distribute it? Using what? Manasa, mental strength. Srila Prabhupada's purport. It is the custom of Hindus to give in charity to the poor as much as possible during the time of a lunar and solar eclipse. Advaita Acharya, therefore, taking advantage of the eclipse, distributed many varieties of charity to the Brahmins. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a statement in the 10th canto, 3rd chapter, verse 11, that when Krishna took his birth, Vasudeva immediately took advantage of this and distributed 10,000 cows to the Brahmanas. Doesn't that seem strange? How did Vasudeva do that? 10,000 cows. Anybody in KZN got 10,000 cows? Maybe. But where was Vasudeva at that time when Krishna took birth? He was imprisoned. Where did he get 10,000 cows from? All his properties were seized, everything was taken. He had nothing whatsoever. How did he do that? From his mind. At least the desire, the mental offering should be there. Of course, it's not to give an out to those who have the facility, but think, hey, I can offer in my mind. This will be so nice. No. If there's no other option, at least we can offer from our minds. And Krishna can accept it. Actually, one of the forms of the deity is in the mind. There's 8 forms of the deity: metal, stone, wood, painting, things like that. The mental form is also one. But you can't now, of course, you have to be a pure devotee to have the image of the deity in your mind. You can't just create something in your mind like that. Just as Srila Prabhupada once said, just your desire to please me pleases me. So if we desire to please Krishna, at least that's pleasing. So Vasudeva offered 10,000 cows. It is also customary among Hindus that at the time a child is born, especially, don't take this wrong, especially a male child, the parents distribute great charity in jubilation. Advaita Acharya was actually interested in distributing charity because of Lord Chaitanya's birth at the time of the lunar eclipse. People could not understand, however, why Advaita Acharya was giving such a great variety of things in charity. He did not do so because of the lunar eclipse, but because of the Lord's taking birth at that moment. He distributed charity exactly as Vasudeva did at the time of Lord Krishna's appearance. So this is Vedic culture. Householders, they observe all sorts of auspicious ceremonies, and one of the main ways they do it is to give in charity. This is very important. Householders, if they do not engage in the act of giving in charity, the scriptures describe what happens to them. Their hearts become hard. Miserliness enters and hearts become hardened. So one of the main occupations of householders is to give in charity. And the best form of charity, as shown by Srila Prabhupada, that we can engage in is to give to the Sankirtan mission, to help in the spreading of the Sankirtan mission. That is the best form of charity. So why the charity? Because they are feeling such happiness. Anybody who's waiting for a child for so long, they finally have a child. Can you imagine how boundless their happiness is? And in Vedic culture, one knows that one's happiness comes by the grace of the sadhus, from the grace of the Vaishnavas, and the grace of the Lord. And therefore, in reciprocation, they offer in charity. This is what happens. Actually, nowadays we find a upside down tradition that when it's somebody's birthday, what happens? We give gifts to the person, isn't it? But Vedic culture really is that it's the person whose birthday it is, it's their opportunity to give gifts to others. This is the proper way of celebrating a birthday. Whose birthday is coming up anytime soon in the temple? When's your birthday, Akinchana Mataji? Hope you're visiting South Africa then. Text 101. When he saw that the whole world was jubilant, Haridas Thakur, his mind astonished, directly and indirectly expressed himself to Advaita Acharya. Your dancing and distributing charity are very pleasing to me. I can understand that there is some special purpose in these actions. Text 102. Acharya Ratna, Chandrasekhar, and Srivas Thakur were overwhelmed with joy, and immediately they went to the bank of the Ganges to take bath in the water of the Ganga. Their minds full of happiness, they chanted the Hare Krishna mantra and gave charity by mental strength. In this way, all the devotees, wherever they were situated, in every city and every country, danced, performed Sankirtan, and gave charity by mental strength on the plea of the lunar eclipse, their minds overwhelmed with joy. All sorts of respectable Brahmin gentlemen and ladies carrying plates filled with various gifts came with their presentations. Seeing the newborn child, whose form resembled natural glaring gold, all of them with happiness offered their blessings. Dressing themselves as the wives of Brahmins, all the celestial ladies, including the wives of Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Nrsingadev, King Indra and Vashishta Muni, along with Rambha, a dancing girl of heaven, came there with varieties of gifts. Srila Prabhupada's purport. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a newly born baby, he was visited by the neighboring ladies, most of whom were the wives of respectable Brahmins. In the dress of Brahmins' wives, celestial ladies like the wives of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva also came to see the newborn child. Ordinary people saw them as neighborhood respectable Brahmin ladies, but actually they were all celestial ladies dressed in that way. Imagine that. The demigods, the greatest of the demigods, their wives all came disguised in respectable, nice clothing, toned down their effulgence also, and came to give gifts to the newborn baby. In outer space, all the demigods, including the inhabitants of Gandharva Loka, Siddha Loka, and Charana Loka, offered their prayers and danced with musical songs and the beating of drums. Similarly, in Navadvip city, all the professional dancers, musicians, and blessers gathered together dancing in great jubilation. Isn't that interesting? Professional blessers. Of course, in South Africa, the word blesser has taken on a different meaning, but that's weird. It's all very weird nowadays. You'll know what that is. You heard, maybe Akinshan Mataji wouldn't know. You heard of sugar daddies? Never heard. Oh, you are too pure. So it's when anyway, it's quite a, it's like richer, aristocratic type elder men, maybe middle age and over. They need some company, so they bless younger girls for their company. That's basically. So here, professional blessers, but not like that. But it's interesting, people go around, Brahmins go around, giving all sorts of blessings. It's their profession to go around giving blessings. So that was also welcome. That's also welcome. We want all the blessings we can get, even from the professionals. But especially from the devotees. Prabhupada says something. Purport. As they are professional singers, dancers, and reciters of prayers in the heavenly planets, so in India, still there are professional dancers, givers of blessings, and singers, all of whom assemble together during household ceremonies, especially marriages and birth ceremonies. These professional men earn their livelihood by taking charity on such occasions from the homes of the Hindus. Eunuchs also take advantage of such ceremonies to receive charity. That is their means of livelihood. Such men never become servants or engage themselves in agriculture or business occupation. They simply take charity from neighborhood friends to maintain themselves peacefully. The Bhartas are a class of Brahmins who go to such ceremonies to offer blessings by composing poems with references to the Vedic scriptures. That's nice. They compose poems giving blessings, and it's coming from the Vedic scriptures. Okay. No, that's a different group. These are the actual Brahmanas who go around giving blessings. But in India, the eunuchs, or what's the word, the Hindi word for them? The hijras. You may see them in the streets sometimes. You're open rickshaw, and these guys, you can see they males, but they're so like nicely dressed with makeup and saris and the hair done, but you can see they're males. And they are, I've heard, I haven't read it anyway, but they considered that their presence is very auspicious. I've heard that from different people in Bombay especially. And they'll come, but they can sometimes, because it's a little degraded now, they can be very aggressive in demanding a donation, and they'll keep touching you, and it's a bit weird, touching you like head and chest and legs and everything, until you give them a donation to send them on the way. Huh? Yeah, which is. So text 107. No one could understand who was coming and who was going, who was dancing and who was singing. Nor could they understand one another's language. Yet all unhappiness and lamentation were immediately dissipated, and all people became jubilant. Thus Jagannath Misra was also overwhelmed with joy. Chandrasekharacharya and Srivas Thakur both came to Jagannath Misra and drew his attention in different ways. They performed the ritualistic ceremonies prescribed at the time of birth according to religious principles. And Jagannath Misra also gave varieties of charity. Whatever riches Jagannath Misra collected in the form of gifts and presentations, and whatever he had in his house, he distributed among the Brahmins, professional singers, dancers, bhattas, and the poor. He honored them all by giving them riches in charity. So this is the quality of a Brahmana. Whatever they receive immediately is given away. Just like we hear in Vedic times, in the Mahabharata and so on, when the king would perform a huge sacrifice like Rajasuya or Ashvamedha, there'll be lots of these highly qualified Brahmanas. And what would the king do? He'd give everything away to the Brahmanas, including his entire kingdom. He would give it in charity to the Brahmanas. Now we'd probably consider, okay, let me see my daily expenses, can I manage? But these kings would just give everything away to the Brahmanas. And the Brahmanas realized that this is not our role. We can't manage and rule the society, manage a kingdom. No, we are now giving it back to you, oh dear king, to rule it on our behalf. This was the mood. So the mood of a Brahmana is never to hoard, never to accumulate, is simply to give away. What's the 6 duties of the Brahmana related to this? Patan. No, dan, yajan, patan, dan pratigraha. To receive gifts in charity and to also give gifts in charity. When I first joined the temple, I'm not much of a Brahmana now when I think about it. When I first joined the temple, I came with a small bag, this size. And my brahmachari leader at that time, then Briyat Mridanga Prabhu, now Bhakti Briyat Bhagavat Swami, says, try to make sure that your belongings don't grow more than this, this small bag. And some years ago, I was thinking about him and thinking about what he said, and I looked at my apartment and I realized, they've grown. They have grown a lot. But anyway, householders, one of the things is expanding, but one must be careful. A real Brahmana means as soon as one gets, one gives away, must give away. Don't keep it all the time. The wife of Srivas Thakur, whose name was? Srivas's wife's name was? Malini, yes. Accompanied by the wife of Chandrasekharacharya and other ladies, came there in great happiness to worship the baby with paraphernalia such as vermilion, turmeric, oil, fused rice, bananas, and coconut. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Vermilion, kai, fused rice, bananas, coconuts, and turmeric mixed with oil are all auspicious gifts for such a ceremony. As there is puffed rice, so there is another preparation of rice called kai, or fused rice, which, along with bananas, is taken as a very auspicious presentation. Also, turmeric mixed with oil and vermilion. You know what's vermilion? It's this sindoor powder, that powder the ladies use for the parting. Also, turmeric mixed with oil and vermilion makes an auspicious ointment that is smeared over the body of a newborn baby or a person who is going to marry. These are all auspicious activities in family affairs. We see that 500 years ago, at the birth of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all these ceremonies were performed rigidly. But at present, such ritualistic performances hardly ever take place. Generally, a pregnant mother is sent to the hospital, and as soon as her baby is born, he is washed with an antiseptic, and this concludes everything. Pretty fata, getting it all done. So this is important to consider. Sometimes, I do find that in the context of the Hare Krishna movement, because, yes, our Yuga Dharma is simply to do what? Chant Hare Krishna. Go out and spread the message of Krishna consciousness. So we limit everything, that if you're doing anything like this, if you seem to be mixing some turmeric, some oil, some sindoor, it's like, this is apasampradaya. This is a deviation. You are fallen. How can you do this? Don't you know? Prabhupada would be very upset, but would he? According to this purport. So these are cultural traditions that are very much connected to the Vedic teachings, and they give protection on all levels, subtle and physical, in this case to a baby. So it's not wrong. It's not wrong. It's actually very much recommended. And parents, the mood of a parent and elders is they were prepared to do practically anything to protect a newborn baby. Right? Practically anything. Text 111. One day, shortly after Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born, Advaitacharya's wife Sita Devi, who is worshipable by the whole world, took her husband's permission and went to see that topmost child with all kinds of gifts and presentations. Purport. It appears that Advaitacharya had two different houses, one at Shantipur and one at Navadvip. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born, Advaitacharya was residing not at his Navadvip house, but at his Shantipur house. Therefore, as formally explained in text 99, from Advaita's old paternal house, Nijalai in Shantipur, Sita Devi came to Navadvip to present gifts to the newborn child, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 112. She brought different kinds of golden ornaments, including armlets, necklaces, anklets, and bangles for the hands. There were also tiger nails set in gold. You saw our tiger nail for Radhanath? You'll notice? It was presented to Radhanath at the time of installation in October 1985. So he still wears it. Actually, I wanted to tell you, it should always be worn, but never put in Radharani's hand to offer, because it's already offered. Sometimes they put it as a way of dressing Radharani. So maybe mention that to the pujaris. Have you all noticed that? They put it in Radharani's hand. Yeah, it should always just be on Radhanath. There were tiger nails set in gold, waist decorations of silk and lace, ornaments for the hands and legs, nicely printed silken saris, and child's garments, also made of silk. Many other riches, including gold and silver coins, were also presented to the child. Now it's like diapers, bibs, prams, and these are all valuable. It's practical stuff. Parents appreciate it, but these are also nice to consider for the future. And if I was a baby, I would like to have had all these things if I knew what they were. Purport. From the gifts presented by Sita Thakurani, Advaitacharya's wife, it appears that Advaitacharya was at that time a very rich man. Although Brahmins are not the rich men of society, Advaitacharya, being the leader of the Brahmins in Shantipur, was considerably well-to-do. I don't know if Srila Prabhupada, he hadn't come to South Africa by then, because Brahmins or people who think they're Brahmins in South Africa are generally very wealthy. But it's not normal. In India, generally Brahmin community is very poor. Therefore, he presented many ornaments to the baby, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Kamalakanta Vishvashas, asking for 300 rupees from the king of Jagannath Puri, Maharaj Prataparudra, on the plea that Advaitacharya was in debt for that amount, indicates that such a rich man who could present many valuable ornaments, saris, etc., thought it difficult to repay 300 rupees. So this pastime takes place many, many years later in Jagannath Puri. Anyway, yeah, that's another story. Therefore, the value of a rupee at that time was many thousands of times what it is now. This is the point Prabhupada is trying to make here. At present, no one feels difficulty over a debt of 300 rupees. Nor can an ordinary man accumulate such valuable ornaments to present to a friend's son. Probably the value of 300 rupees at that time was equal to the present value of 30,000 rupees. And of course, 30,000 rupees in 1974 when Prabhupada, or 2 when Prabhupada was writing, it's probably worth I don't know how many times now. Many, maybe 30 lakhs now. Text 114. Riding in a palanquin covered with cloth and accompanied by maidservants, Sita Thakurani came to the house of Jagannath Misra, bringing with her many auspicious articles such as fresh grass, auspicious items. See, this is Vedic culture. Durva grass is considered very auspicious and used in many types of ceremonies. Paddy, gorochana, turmeric, kumkum, and sandalwood. All these presentations filled a large basket. When Sita Thakurani came to the house of Sachi Devi, bringing with her many kinds of eatables, dresses, and other gifts, she was astonished to see the newborn child, for she appreciated that except for a difference in color, the child was directly Krishna of Gokul himself. So she could immediately understand. Just the difference in color only, but this is Krishna. Seeing the transcendental bodily effulgence of the child, each of his nicely constructed limbs full of auspicious signs and resembling a form of gold, Sita Thakurani was very pleased. And because of her maternal affection, she felt as if her heart were melting. She blessed the newborn child by placing fresh grass and paddy on his head and saying, "May you be blessed with a long duration of life." But being afraid of ghosts and witches, she gave the child the name. What name did Sita Thakurani give the baby? The qualifier is there, being afraid of ghosts and witches. Okay. Another question to the quiz. What was Lord Chaitanya's name given when he was born? Like how we would say his ID name. What was his formal name given? Anybody remember? Vishvambar was his name, right? Given. But what was the name given by Sita Thakurani? Okay, y'all all know it. You're just not connecting it together. Nimai. Nimai was given by Sita Thakurani, Advaita Charya's wife. We'll read the explanation in the purport now. Dakini and Sankini are two companions of Lord Shiva and his wife who were supposed to be extremely inauspicious, having been born of ghostly life. It is believed that such inauspicious living creatures cannot go near a neem tree. At least medically, it is accepted that neem wood is extremely antiseptic. And formerly, it was customary to have a neem tree in front of one's home. On very large roads in India, especially in Uttar Pradesh, there are hundreds and thousands of neem trees. Neem wood is so antiseptic that the Ayurvedic science uses it to cure leprosy. Medical scientists have extracted the active principle of the neem tree, which is called margosic. I hope that's the right pronunciation. Margosic acid. Now, Prabhupada can speak with some, authority here because Prabhupada was a chemist, so he can understand these things. Of course, Prabhupada can speak with authority on everything. Neem is used for many purposes, especially to brush teeth. In Indian villages, 90% of the people use neem twigs for this purpose. Because of all the antiseptic effects of the neem tree, and because Lord Chaitanya was born beneath the neem tree, Sita Thakurani gave the Lord the name Nimai. Later in his youth, he was celebrated as Nimai Pandit. And in the neighborhood villages, he was called by that name, although his real name was Vishvambhar. So name, actually, His Holiness Giriraj Swami tells, I was listening the other day, tells an exchange he had with his childhood dentist who happened to serve in India for some time. And he had an interesting sort of understanding of the Indian dental health status. He found that, well, this was well before gutka and pan and all was becoming a major thing for, you see men, they just chew this gutka and they spit it, and you see these, these red patches on the walls and the corners. It's so disgusting. So everyone's teeth are just destroyed. But at that time, when this dentist of Giriraj Maharaj was serving in India, he noticed that the dental health of all these Indians was first class, like really good. And all they did was chew twigs, the neem twig. It is quite amazing. Incidentally, Prabhupada was also, devotees would prepare fresh, twigs and send it to wherever Prabhupada was in the world. So that's how Prabhupada used to take care of his teeth. Simply chew and brush. Once it's chewed at the end, then brush the teeth. Because it also has antiseptic qualities. When Prabhupada was in South Africa, I can't remember whether it was Ramanujacharya Prabhu or Parthasarathi Maharaj that tells the story. They didn't have the neem twigs. So then Prabhupada said, okay, then go and get some eucalyptus twigs. So Prabhupada used eucalyptus twigs too for his brushing. All right. We'll conclude shortly. Text 118. On the day the mother and the son bathed and left the maternity home, Sita Thakurani gave them all kinds of ornaments and garments, and then also honored Jagannath Misra. Then Sita Thakurani, being honored by Mother Sachi Devi and Jagannath Misra, was greatly happy within her mind, and thus she returned home. Just read this purport and then we'll conclude. On the 5th day from the birth of a child, as also on the 9th day, the mother bathes either in the Ganges or in another sacred place. This is called Nishkramana, or the ceremony of coming out of the maternity home. This is a samskara, one of the important samskara, the first outing of the child. Nowadays, of course, the maternity home is a hospital. But formerly, in every respectable house, one room was set aside as a maternity home where children would take birth. And on the 9th day after the birth of a child, the mother would come into the regular rooms in the ceremony called Nishkramana. After 10 purificatory processes, means samskaras, Nishkramana is one. Formerly, especially in Bengal, the higher castes observed 4 months after the birth of a child as a quarantine. At the end of the 4th month, the mother could see the sun rise. So they weren't allowed to come out and go outside or interact with people for 4 months. Later, the higher castes, namely the Brahmins, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, observed only 21 days as a quarantine, whereas the Sudras had to observe 30 days. For the sections of society known as Kartabhaja and Satima, the mother of the child was immediately purified after the quarantine by the throwing of harinuta, small pieces of sweetmeats, in Sankirtan. Sachi Devi and Jagannath Mishra, with the newborn child, were honored by Sita Thakurani. Similarly, while Sita Thakurani was returning home, she was also honored by Sachi Devi and Jagannath Mishra. This was the system in respectable families of Bengal. All right, we'll conclude here. Does anyone have any comments? Yes, Akinchana Mataji. Mm-hmm. Hmm.
And they would request everyone who had delivered the baby to come forward to make a statement.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
It's true, yeah. Um, Actually, I mean, just connected to the point you're making, that culture, those traditions, they were very scientific. It wasn't just a feel-good experience. There's science behind it. And like even, for instance, the Aratic ceremony, it's a ritual, offering incense, lamp, argia water, we say it's a handkerchief, but it really represents a gift, and all these things. There's scientific reasoning behind each of this offering, why in this order. And it comes from different cultural, traditional understandings. So this is typically Vedic, coming from India. But if you go to Europe, you'll also find very ancient scientific cultural traditions that they do with the birth of a child. Even in Africa, they have all these, very grounded, ancient traditions that are there. I mean, I don't know them, but I know much about them. I've heard and seen some things. But it's all based in science of taking care of a child. And I think it's important to try and preserve them and not just let it get all wasted away because of westernized culture. I mean, it's sort of what's the word? It's an oxymoron. Western culture. To put these two words together, Western culture, doesn't make sense. So it's nice to preserve these things because they help give us strength. They help sharpen our mind and intelligence to actually focus on the Yuga Dharma, which is why Srila Prabhupada even introduced deity worship. Like once Srila Prabhupada was asked, if what was his point? He was questioned about why are we having all these things to do, deity worship, this and that, and everything. His answer basically was that I've given you all these things, that it's true, the only thing we really have to do is chant Hare Krishna. That's the only thing. But I have to give you all these things because we cannot sit and chant Hare Krishna. We cannot do it all the time. So I've given you all these other things. So all these other things are important in the sense that it helps purify our minds. Like deity worship, by that regulation, the cleanliness, the punctuality, the systemized nature, it strengthens the mind. Being haphazard, irregular, weakens the mind. Living in a cluttered place weakens the mind. And it becomes so weak that one cannot focus. That's why deity worship is so good. There's system, there's organization, and it trains the mind in a very nice way. So similarly, with all these cultural traditions, with childbirth, the different samskaras that we find in different ways in all types of bona fide cultures in the world, Europe, India, Africa, Middle East, is very, very powerful. And we should, I really feel strongly, we should try our best to preserve at least the essences of it. The essences of it. That'll be very, very good. Very good. They are all very God conscious, Krishna conscious. All right, thank you very much. I do hope that today, if you find some time, you can all continue the reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita chapter 13, all the things that happened after Lord Chaitanya's appearance. And there is meant to be a feast. That's when the actual feast takes place. So when you go down, you will find a wonderful feast. Well, how they say, a poor man's feast fit for a king. Hare Krishna. Shri Jagannath Misra Utsava ki, Shri Gaur Purnima Maha Mahotsava ki, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanande.